Hi, I'm Korrena Bailie and I'm with insurancequotes.com.
I am Scott McLean, Battalion Chief with Cal Fire.
And today we're just going to talk a little bit about the King Fire that's burning here in Northern California and get some fire safety advice for homeowners. So can you just tell me a little bit about the fire that's burning up here, how big it is, how many days, what it's damaged?
The fire's been burning over 12 days. It's about 97,000 acres and about 68% contained as we speak today. There's been 12 structures, residential structures, that have been destroyed, as well as over 60 outbuildings, barns, and that type of buildings that also been destroyed.
Why do you feel that this year, so 2014, has been a particularly bad wildfire season?
As we've been promoting the drought's been 3 years or more throughout the state of California. These fires in the North State this year have been pretty much what we call topography as well as fuel driven. Fuel driven in reference to the drought. The various plants, whether it be grass, brush, or trees, have such little moisture content in them, they basically ignite very easily.
So if you are a homeowner or a renter in an area that's prone to wildfires, what are some measures that you can take, just to keep your house ready in case there ever is a wildfire?
Well, those living in rural areas, no. It's not if a fire is going to come, it's when. They need to be prepared. We have been promoting for several years now what we call the 100-foot defensible space project. That is where the homeowner goes out and clears the property about 100 foot or more, if they live on the side of a hill, of defensible space, meaning brush. Thin the brush out. Limb up the trees 10 feet or more, depending on the type of tree and the height of the tree. Take care of the area so when a fire does come, it slows it down, which helps us help them protect their property. Then we can go into the various aspects of making, if they have a deck overhanging, make sure there's nothing stored underneath that deck, as well as the vegetation's taken care of. Firewood, make sure firewood's stacked quite a distance away from their home per se.
So creating this defensible space, do you feel this is something that most homeowners could do alone? Would you recommend getting in a contractor?
There's various ways. Yes, they can do it on their own, unless they're unable to. Then they can go to, for an example, fire safe councils, which are spread throughout the state of California, or a contractor.
In your experience, what do you think is like one of the single biggest mistakes that homeowners make when it comes to not preparing adequately for fire?
They put it off. They procrastinate. That's the biggest thing. But they have to be aware. I mean, all the fires in the state of California right now is proof. We see homes that were destroyed because there was no defensible space. We see a lot of homes that have been saved where fires come right up to their homes and has given us the ability to protect those homes, and those homes were saved.
If you live in an area and you have been warned that a fire could come or is most likely to come your way, what are some things that you should do?
In the state of California, we have what's called evacuation order, evacuation advisory. You need to heed law enforcement when they come through. If it's an advisory, be prepared. It goes on that Ready, Set, Go program that's out there also. Make sure you have your personal belongings, anything that's important to you as far as documentation, pictures, and that type of thing, as well as your pets. Have them prepped to be ready to go and load in the car if necessary. Be ready. And then when the evacuation order comes in, heed it. Please leave the area, evacuate. If you stay, that means one resource from the fire service is going to be there to make sure that you're okay.
Part of the Ready, Set, Go program is that you recommend having an evacuation kit, an emergency kit. What are some essential items that you should have in your kit?
And this is reference to taking your personal belongings with you. Identifications, possibly your mortgage documents in reference to that. Anything that you're going to need, your insurance papers. Bring these things that you know that you're going to need later down the road, that you're not going to have to ask your insurance companies or various other companies for that documentation from them. Your bank statements per se. Anything that basically runs your life right now as far as numbers, bring it with you, and some form of identification that has your address on it with your name. So if your home is not destroyed and or they lift that evacuation to what we call an advisory, where it's only residents can enter that area, you have that form of ID where you can get into that area easily.
And this last question, what are some structural changes or adjustments that you can make to your home to make it more fire safe?
Windows, for an example, dual pane or triple pane windows. We're talking about radiant heat in that reference. If there is a fire coming, make sure your drapes, your light drapes, are away from your windows. Make sure any furniture is away from the windows just because of the radiant heat. On your venting, on the exterior of your home, on a gable end vent, for an example, be prepared. Cut a small piece of plywood that you can hang or just set across that gable end vent, or securely, I should say, because the fire will make its own wind and weather. That'll prevent embers from going into that vent, if it doesn't have a screen on the back, into the insulation that could be a blown insulation, which is a paper product. And that brings up another point. In the state of California, you have to have a certain screen behind that vent to inhibit those embers going through. But safely, see if you can get a piece of plywood or some other product that will cover the vent, as well as any soffit vents, any vents around the house, and including the foundation vents.